Hey everyone, Cody Hayes here, and I'd like to welcome you to another one of the lectures over the Catholic letters. In this case, we're going to look at the second letter of Peter. So starting off here with the authorship and the date. While attributed to the Apostle Peter, the majority of historians hold this work to be anonymous. Again, Luke in the book of Acts presents Peter and John as essentially uneducated, unlearned men. So Peter himself would not have been arguably able to write something in the polished Greek of this particular letter. But in the case with First Peter, it mentions somebody else writing it and Peter possibly dictating it. So First Peter is disputed for that reason of Peter having any type of role. But with the second letter of Peter, you don't have any of that, which essentially makes that particular letter um, likely anonymous and probably having nothing to do with the man whose name it bears. Second Peter, it was likely written from Rome during the years of 100 to 150 CE/AD, and this would arguably make it the last book of the canonical New Testament. And I would say that the late date with Second Peter being mid second century. And there's a couple of other reasons for why I would, make that case too. But certainly with the ending, I think has a lot to do with it, um, related to being more than likely the last book of the canonical New Testament. But let's look a little bit here at theosis, foretelling of death, false teachers, and the second coming. You are to become godlike in Christ. And this relates to the teaching of theosis, where you are to become godlike in Christ. The doctrine, the teaching of purgatory relates to this particular notion as well. A foretelling of death here. I know that my death is coming soon. Jesus has told me. I have down here at the bottom the portrait of essentially "Where are you going, Lord?" This comes from uh, a work titled The Acts of Peter, which is dated probably about mid second century, around that time period, maybe a little before. And the fact that Second Peter has a reference to "I know that my death is coming, Jesus has told me," makes me wonder if the author was aware of this particular story. But the story is that during Nero's persecution of Christians, Peter is told that he needs to leave. And so he leaves Rome, but as he gets outside the city, he sees Jesus walking in the opposite direction, and he asks Jesus, "Where are you going?" He says, "Lord, where are you going?" And Jesus responds back, "To Rome, to be crucified all over again." And that was a reference that Peter understood that he needed to go back to Rome and deal with the Christian community in Rome. And of course, he was ultimately crucified in Rome, traditionally upside down, but ultimately that is how he died, by crucifixion. And so the author of Second Peter may have been aware of that story, with the fact that he has here, "I know that my death is coming soon, Jesus has told me." Continuing on, beware of the false teachers, whomever they are and whatever they are teaching. The author does not actually state whom these false teachers are, and he doesn't specifically state what they're teaching either. More than likely, they were probably Gnostics, but that's not explicit, but that would probably be the best guess as to whom they were and what they were teaching. Of course, there were various forms of Gnosticism, but that's not explicitly stated in the text. And where is Jesus? Why has he not returned? So, where is Jesus? Why has he not returned? And, again, for the first few decades of the Christian movement, there was this notion that Jesus was going to return, in this case, within the lifetime of the authors. Paul certainly had that attitude. But then, as you get into a number of the later years, that attitude starts to die out. Although I would say that probably during the reign of the Emperor Trajan, maybe some of that attitude returned before potentially dying out again. But the author of Second Peter makes a reference to this. Where is Jesus? Why is he not returned? And what the author basically states in response to those questions is Jesus is going to return, but it's not going to be when we expected it to be. So Jesus is going to come back, but it's going to be later than we thought. Well, that's essentially it for the second letter of Peter. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. Until then, take care.